But I think let's get started. Hema, Aniruddha, Gopinath, thank you so much for being here on the Karate Labs Customer Journey webinar series. Aniruddha and Hema are from Cytel, our enterprise customer. Now almost a year our enterprise customer. Actually less than that. We started in August of 2024. Gopinath played a very key role, and we'll touch on that as the webinar progresses. If I set context for the audience, I remember getting Aniruddha's email on the 10th of June 2024. And it didn't come directly to me because we are not out there overselling karate. It's purely based on word of mouth and virality. And that's where Gopinath from Crosslake and the Crosslake Technologies team played a role. And we'll come to that. But from the time Aniruddha reached out saying they're evaluating karate for API testing, we had completed the technical evaluation thanks to Hema's wonderful checklist, which I'm sure she'll talk about, for API testing functionality. And between legal and procurement, we were onboarding the Cytel team in Pune, if I recall right, on the 8th of August 2024. And from then it makes us as Karate Labs very happy that the Cytel team has really embraced karate and API testing. And that's why we get asked a lot from the forum, from the community, that we would like to hear customer stories and customer journeys. And so on behalf of the Karate Labs team, I thank you all for being here. So right off the bat, if we can start, if I can request you to start by introducing yourselves. And if I can start with Gopinath, and there's a reason, because once Cytel team introduces, we'll start with questions for the Cytel team. So Gopinath, over to you.
Hello. Hi all. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So myself, Gopinath Rao, I've been working with Crosslake Technologies as a automation and QA manager practitioner, associated with Crosslake for 3+ years now. Even before that, I was part of Crosslake, co-company. So I've overall, I have 15+ years of experience in testing on automation, along with some development stints in some product services in between. So my core job is to help clients like Cytel and other organizations develop design frameworks, and then educate the team members, and then hand over the developed framework onto their usability. That's pretty much.
Thank you so much, Gopinath. Hema, may I request you?
Yep, sure. So good morning, good evening, everyone. Myself, Hema Patil, and I have over 17 years of experience in IT industry and over 15 years experience solely into this testing arena. For last 7 years, I have been part of Cytel, where I initially joined as a test lead for one of the products. And over time, in this 7-year span, my role has expanded to oversee the testing efforts across all Cytel software products. So I will say I had an opportunity to be part of Cytel's this transformation journey, like from desktop-based solutions to our current cloud-based platform, from waterfall to agile transformation, and also this QA transformation. Also, I got an opportunity to be part of from Cytel, and I will definitely say it's been a rewarding experience, both in terms of learning and growth. Yeah, so that's briefly about me. Maybe over to you, Anirudh.
Thank you, Hema. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's really exciting to be here. My name is Aniruddha Deshmukh. I'm Vice President, Software Engineering at Cytel. And before I talk about me and my role, let me very briefly talk about my company. And for that, I'll also bring up my slides. That reminds me that I should share the screen and show the slides. Okay, I see the share button. Sorry, I'm not very familiar with Zoom. We use Teams actually at Cytel. But yeah, this interface is intuitive that way. Please let me know, Kapil, if the screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go to the next slide. Yeah, so at a very high level, Cytel is a multinational technology and services company. Our global headquarters are in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Our operations are spread across the globe in many countries around the world. Our primary customers are global biopharmaceutical companies. And like I said, we provide analytical services. We also have our own software products. And actually, Hema here and I are from the Cytel software division, where we develop analytical and scientific software based on cutting-edge data science methods. And our customers actually use this software for designing clinical trials and analyzing data collected in such trials. So my job as the Vice President of Software Engineering is to oversee the overall engineering operations at Cytel and delivering high-quality products to our customers in time. So this, I really appreciate Kapil for providing us this opportunity. It's really exciting to be a part of this webinar and share with you all what a difference karate has really made in how we work. And I'm also extremely thankful to our collaboration with Crosslake on this thing. Without Crosslake's guidance and karate's capabilities, we won't be where we are today. And so I'm really excited to talk about this along with Hema in this webinar as we proceed. While I'll answer some questions, Hema is the real expert here from Cytel when it comes to testing, and so she will be talking more and answering most of the questions on behalf of Cytel. But yes, I will definitely talk in between as well. So yeah, so thank you everyone, and we can get started, Kapil.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Gopinath. Thanks, Hema. Thanks, Aniruddha. So let's right off the bat, Hema, for you, what are the key challenges your team faced in test automation that led you to really start seeking a new solution?
Yeah, maybe Aniruddha, we don't have a slide for that.
Yeah, okay, maybe so. I'll just quickly talk about, set the context in terms of, the software, so that it's clear, like when we talk about the problems or challenges that we're facing. So what we have been developing since 2020 is this massive cloud-based, cloud-native, extremely high-performing, highly scalable and rich platform called East Horizon, which our customers use for designing and simulating complex clinical trials. And being a cloud-native, high-performing platform, the architecture of this platform involves several loosely coupled containerized services, compute resources, as well as different types of cloud storage. And so our customers' requirements, as well as this architectural complexity, itself creates certain technical challenges when it comes to testing and that to automating that testing. But in addition to that, as our business has grown, kept growing in the last few years, especially with the launch of this platform, it has created other challenges for us. Like, for example, from the business side, we need to start when we need to keep delivering our releases quite frequently. So our release cadence has really become faster. Whereas in the beginning, our thrust was more on manual testing, especially as we started developing this platform. And our team was composed of these expert testers who were domain experts, but they really did this testing manually. This started becoming a big bottleneck for us. And that's where Crosslake came into picture. And Hema will talk about it in more detail. But basically, this over-reliance on manual testing was really the limiting factor in terms of delivering our releases fast and keeping things on time. Along with the business growth, along with the growing number of customers, the number of features that we pack in every release also started growing up. And so it started becoming challenging to keep up with the development here. And while we were earlier doing some automation, it was more on the UI automation side, whereas the backend automation was negligible for limited to certain areas of the application. So testers lacking automation skills and this over-reliance on manual testing was definitely one key challenge there. And Hema, I'm sure you would like to add to that.
Yeah, definitely. So most of the points, Aniruddha, you have covered. But I'll just like to add a couple of points to that. So definitely, as Aniruddha mentioned, we were looking for some fast-paced iterative development cycles supported by quality testing. And in this journey, also it was like we were looking for this CI-friendly solution also. So, and considering our team's current skill set, having this heavy code-based automation frameworks were becoming a little bit challenge for us to address. And that's where I think we engaged with Crosslake, and they recommended us exploring a new tool, which will be like a low code automation tool, which could be a solution for our these challenges. Yeah, so that was fairly about challenges, Kapil, and we will talk in next slides, like how we together has addressed these challenges. Yeah.
No, thank you both for that. In fact, that is a good point to actually ask Gopinath. So, Gopinath, when Cytel engage with Crosslake Technologies, and you do this with many clients across different industries, one, what is the methodology that Crosslake or you followed for evaluating potential API testing solutions for Cytel? What criteria did you consider crucial from a Cytel's perspective? And more importantly, what stood out when you narrowed down on Karate as one of the options? What stood out about Karate compared to the other solutions considered?
Yeah, thanks, Kapil. Yeah, I would have to step back a bit to somewhere around last quarter of 2023, I guess. So Crosslake is a global advisory firm. We serve different private equity investors and clients, where we do due diligence advisory services with our industry leading practitioners, giving suggestions on doing tech due diligence, software diligence, IT product diligence, and then providing solutions to the issues which the current generation of organizations face, like in terms of scalability, architecture, improving architecture, and marketing product services, quickly, like fastening the release. So these kind of activities. So when Crosslake and Cytel were actually working on, performing an assessment to identify architectural modifications to improve or scalability of various products which Cytel has, and there were some new products that were under development. So that was the actual work where it started, and then from the output of that due diligence work, they have suggested a lot of improvements in terms of infrastructure framework, and one of the suggestion was on the QA side. So they have identified, our experienced practitioners have identified some bottlenecks in QA challenges, and they have suggested some solutions. That's where we started our QA process of identifying the bottlenecks and proposing solutions. So when it comes to the solution that I proposed, before that, like what what Cytel was having was they were having UI automation, and the focus was more on UI automation rather than API automation. For API, they were having Postman collections, and each collection was, if I'm not wrong, around 60 to 70 requests, and each request was having some 5 to 6,000 lines of backend JavaScript code, which the manual testers need to maintain for every release. And Ani said, like, they were not having automation skills, but they were the domain experts, and they have some experience in writing JavaScript code. So the one of the solution that was suggested by Crosslake was more API testing and less UI automation, and then that would improve the time to release and their regression cycle. I think the regression cycle for Cytel was around 4 weeks, if I remember correctly. That was a huge 4 weeks per each quarter. I think they were releasing each quarter before, and then the proposal was to release frequently, like monthly release. For that, we need to have API automation in place in between their services and all their engine software. So I was looking for a tool which would involve less coding and which would support the statistical calculations. Like when I looked at the Postman request, it was heavily. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of calculations, as you know. It's a statistical medical software, and these inputs will be coming from domain experts. So I was I was evaluating different tools, trying to automate some sample scenarios. I picked up one of the requests in a collection, and then I was trying to play around with different tools. And then I came on to Karate Labs. So the reasons I had to choose Karate Labs was, its ease of use and powerful, JSON validation. And one more thing is, like, Cytel was having lots of CSV files validations. Like each CSV file was having around like 150 or 180 or 150, 200 different columns with all different calculations. So the Karate Labs was supporting JSON validation and CSV validation and XML, and then obviously data-driven testing, and it also has API chaining capability and Java interoperability, and you can write your inline JavaScript functions, which the Cytel team is manual testers. They already are aware of writing JavaScript methods for reusable or functionality which they can reuse in different test areas. So as I said, like, I was looking for something fresh, which shouldn't be having a lot of a learning curve. I wanted the Cytel team to get involved from day one. So when I did a POC with what I have automated, and Cytel team, like, straight away jumped into automating the scenarios, and our automation tester Stan was developing all the reusable methods. But at the back of the mind, there was some doubt for me, like how it will turn out, because of the calculations and because of all the uh, engine stuff that is involved. But in the end, like, once the final evaluation was done, like, it turned out to be a fruitful effort. With Cytel team was able to script API test automation and everything. Like, they had a pipeline, and the tests were being run frequently. And I would say without the efforts from Cytel, this would not have been possible. Uh, yeah, um, that's also need to mention about the domain specific language with karate. It's it just took me, I mean, I've not used karate before, but it just took me around 1 or 2 hours to quickly set up a framework in terms of automating a simple API request from Cytel. It was very easy to use, and even for the Cytel team members, it's not heavily technical, and the support was instant. Like, I've seen in, I mean, that's the key feature when you select automation tool, like how the support would be. So wherever I see someone posting a question about Karate Labs, I would see Peter from Karate Labs reply underneath it. That shows, that's one of the factor that shows the dedication of Karate Labs and where they want to go. So I didn't see a single query which was unanswered or which was left unanswered, and the documentation was top notch, and it's all available on online within Karate Labs. Yeah.
No, thanks for that, Gopinath. That's brilliant. And you have actually, it's as though you have summarized all our key differentiators without me having to even show a slide. So thank you so much for that, Gopinath. Back to the Cytel team. Now, after the selection was done, Hema and Aniruddha, can you walk us through the participants through your journey of implementing karate for your API testing needs? How long did it take for your team to become proficient in using karate? Was the learning curve too much? Are there any specific examples? And if you could, maybe you have it in your slides, because I'm also seeing the slides for the first time. Is what the beauty of it. How has possibly karate helped you strengthen the API testing layer to achieve that data balance within your agile testing pyramid? Over to you.
Yep. So
Hema, maybe you can tell me which slide you
Yeah.
would like to go to first, and I'll
Yeah, maybe slide number 7. Slide number 7, Anirudh.
Okay.
Kapil asks about following the selection process, how our journey was about implementation. So Kapil, definitely means, as you mentioned, though our Karate Labs engagement started somewhere between August, but prior to that, as Gopi mentioned, from May 2024, we partnered with Crosslake to identify these bottlenecks and define our automation goals. So this was kind of a very structured blueprint approach. And then once that blueprint phase was ended, then during this August and September, when we finally landed up on couple of tools, karate was one of them. During August and September, we acquired this tool, and based on that checklist which you have mentioned, where we had 50 n number of criteria, 50 odd criteria of what we were looking from this tool or the framework, which considering all these aspects, our needs, our team's automation maturity and everything. So based on that Moscow analysis and the way you have provided answer or solution to each of that criteria couple, means finally we decided to go with Karate Labs during August and September 2024. And even as Gopi mentioned, after that POC phase, we together real-time use case, our first real-time use case of this data-driven testing with having these lots of combinations from our one of the engine. Okay, so after that, we chose this tool, we acquired licenses. And I remember in September 2024, we shifted our focus like on first as a capability building for our team. And there we conducted hands-on training sessions led by Peter, the creator of karate himself, and to train our teams, facilitate this smooth adoption for tool. And once that is done, slowly by October 2024, even this first framework with help of Gopi, Stan from Crosslake, the foundation was in place, and we began onboarding of our members from Cytel also on this, and we started taking this drive, this initiative forward. I will say, means that was our start from October 24, and just like by around November 24, early November 24, we conducted a survey, like a self-assessment survey. It's like a kind of pulse check. Okay, how our team members who had gone through this training by Peter, how their confidence level is in karate coding or automation with karate. And after that, during February also, we conducted the survey again. And we have seen a lot of, improvement on that self-assessment, which is kind of indicator, like how team's confidence is building up into this karate automation. I will say our very junior most member now contributing to karate automation with full that confidence. Yeah, so this was about like how the implementation and onboarding for our team has gone through.
Excellent.
Yeah, so
well,
yeah.
Thanks for that, Hema. Thanks. One question related. Many a times when customers are considering karate, or for that matter, any tool, they have their own in-house frameworks, or they have another tool like you had Postman collections. Many a times,
Yeah.
just the whole task of migrating from one platform to another can become the resistance to change. Now, you went through that change curve. And you know that we have our own migration tool from my importing Postman collections and generating karate tests. But if I recall right, Cytel took a decision to manually write all karate tests again, right? Could you throw a little bit light on how easy or cumbersome was moving to karate when you already had tests written using Postman collections?
Yeah, definitely. So, Kapil, I remember this was one of the criteria from our checklist also, that we do have a lot of automation based on Postman done for our core engine components, and we want to easily migrate that to any tool or framework which we will choose. And there you had suggested us this explore option for karate. So we actually explored that during that time, Kapil. But as our that first use case, which was one of the complex use case, Gopi, Stan, and our internal members, they have already automated. We found that rather than using explore, it's just a kind of, with that same approach, it was very easy to migrate all our test cases for one of our module. Rather than using explore, we will, straightforward start writing those test cases in karate. And yeah, so that was the thought, rather than opting for migration with help of explore module from karate, rather than straightforwardly start writing the test cases.
Yeah, I would also like to add, Kapil, that this was an extremely valuable learning experience for our team. If we had used the tool to migrate, we would have lost the opportunity for a large number of our testers to actually learn the tool, by doing this hands-on work. And that was very much an important goal for us as well. It was, of course, we wanted the automation suite, especially the karate-based suite, to be available and ready and running as fast as possible. But we also wanted our team also to learn fast. And so I guess, Hema, that was also on your mind in this.
Exactly.
That's a fantastic point. It takes me back to 2023 in February. Peter and I were in Denver, Colorado, onboarding a team of a Fortune 63 company, then the Fortune 100. They were moving from one of our peers to karate. And they said, hey, they were not on Postman, they were on another tool. And they were using Parasoft. So they said, hey, can you build Parasoft migration to karate? And he said, no, there's no end to it. We are not a migration. We are a test automation company. We want to remain true. Yeah. And you make a great point, Aniruddha, because they also chose to write the karate test cases manually, migrating from Parasoft. And the point again comes back, the learning curve. I think the onboarding became even more accelerated because they did it themselves, rather than use a.
Yeah, and actually, last point in this, like writing those scripts manually was more easy, Kapil, than migrating. Now I know we have added a lot of new features to explore. Yes, and yeah, we will certainly explore that also. But yeah, even the coding was not that complex, which we found, and that's why team took it up, writing the scripts rather than migrating it.
Wonderful. Could you walk me through this slide? Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to add, Kapil, one point over here. Like as Annie mentioned, hands-on developing the framework. I've seen in the past with other clients where you develop the framework, but when the actual client gets to use the framework, they would have some kind of difficulty adapting to the framework. Learning, either they need to recruit an automation tester from external automation tester, and then take knowledge sessions, and then they can use the framework. So but for Cytel, they were not having an in-house automation tester. What they were having was good manual testers with domain expertise. So for them being involved from starting of the framework development, and they it kind of relates to how they started the work and how they have started writing automation tests. And at the end of our engagement, they were already writing tests, and they were pretty confident of using Karate.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Hema, you want to touch on this slide? This is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So the survey means self-assessment survey, which I talked about earlier. So this is just a kind of pictorial representation of like how the confidence started getting built within the team members. So initially in November, if we see, there were no members who had self-rated themselves as an expert, but eventually that count is increasing as we are moving ahead. Even eventually in that intermediate level also, we are seeing increase, and the beginner kind of that is getting lowered. Okay, so this is definitely this upward trend is definitely a strong indicator of progress. And it's not only about progress, but the team's confidence also, how this is getting shifted. And I will like to mention that this is not only about going through this learning. Okay, many testers, they have learned Karate while contributing to actual work. Okay. And since last few months, even now, our many developers have started learning Karate and helping out in automation effort. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
it's not only about
Yeah.
one team, but overall collaboration has been improved on this automation effort across the team.
That's critical, because when many a times, we have spoken to so many enterprise customers, and there are many webinars that are on our channel, our customer journey webinar. One of the webinars we did in December of 2022 was with FIS Global. And the title of that webinar was A Non-Programmer's Journey to Test Automation with Karate. And some of the points you mentioned, because they bring the domain expertise. And in their mind, they think, oh, I'll have to learn a new programming language and I can't do it. I'm not that person. But, and this person, so this team just onboarded Karate, and one of them is actually a key contributor to Karate open source now. Okay, and he uses Karate so extensively across FIS Global that it's a fantastic learning for us also. And that makes an absolute huge difference. My question to Gopinath and to all of you actually would be, one of the observations that the Crosslake Technologies team had was that you're not releasing fast enough. You're taking 4 weeks between your release cycles. And one of the things when enterprise customers ask us, hey, what is the core differentiator of Karate? We say, hey, Karate enables enterprises release customer benefit faster for their overall competitive advantage. So fast forward now, almost 9 months into your using Karate after onboarding Karate. Has there been an improvement in your release cycles, etc.?
So yeah, so I can take that one. So to be clear, our standard release cadence to customers remains once a quarter. Because because our customers have regulatory obligations, since they are pharmaceuticals, for example, they operate in a highly regulated domain. So many times these customers themselves do not want faster than a quarter kind of release cadence. However, internally we have lots of subject matter experts, not just within engineering but also within Cytel itself. And these many of them actually represent customers or end users' interests in the development process, and they carry out a lot of user acceptance testing on behalf of our customers. And so we have shortened that cycle quite substantially. Okay, and that's where the automation has really helped us. So internally, for major features, we target end-to-end completion, including all the testing and hardening, etc. of that feature, we try to target that between 4 to 6 weeks, which earlier also used to take like more than 2.5 months per feature. So that is helping us shorten these internal delivery cycles, if I may use that term, and get feedback from these experts sooner. Because earlier we sometimes used to have that problem that critical issues which only the experts can catch would be caught later in the cycle, and then they would create significant risk in the later part of the release cycle, or some of those issues would escape into production, etc. So that kind of thing is what we are really strengthening, and that's where this automation is really helping us.
Excellent. And has it become very evident that some of the tests that you are doing as UI automation tests are better off being done as API tests? Because that's another learning curve we go through with our customers, where Peter even wrote an ebook 2 years ago called Navigating the Brave New World of API Testing with Karate. And the first section of that book purely focuses on why your UI tests don't need to be UI tests, they need to be API tests. So is that revelation also very evident within the Cytel organization?
Yeah, what do you think about?
Yeah, maybe Kapil, I think means we are quite maybe yet to mature over there. I think at this moment we are maintaining both the packs, UI and API. So I will say we have covered most of the automation from APIs, but as Gopi mentioned, we do have many things from the coverage aspect, from this statistical numbers and everything. So
yes.
As our next initiative, we are going to do this exercise, Kapil, that we are going to push many combinations now to this ready framework, ready API automation into the API automation pack, and slowly, gradually, we will reduce the UI automation need, Kapil.
Excellent. No, under no circumstances.
So that is our next phase. Yeah.
Excellent. The good thing with Karate is that, like one of our customers, SAP, when they migrated to Karate for API testing and UI testing, they migrated from Postman to Karate for API testing, and Cypress to Karate for UI testing. So you have
exactly.
to do hybrid testing. And Gopi, Gopinathan, do you see that with your clients also, that when you work, that they are more skewed towards UI testing, and then they move to API testing, and then they are within the framework able to do hybrid testing?
Yeah, I've seen clients already have some UI automation framework, and when Karate is introduced, like Karate has a plugin facility with Playwright, where you can write your UI automation in Playwright. Yeah, there's this gap between UI and API automation for the clients. Yeah.
Excellent. I'll take a pause here. There's a question live, which I think, Hema, you have touched on, but maybe you might want to elaborate also, which is, do developers or QA write tests, or all team members? You touched on it briefly that now developers are also starting to write, but if you could please answer that live.
Yes, I will say in one of the area, like in our this core engine components, developers and testers both write these test cases. Excellent. Automation test cases. Yeah. And slowly we are looking forward for other teams also to contribute into, from development team also contributing to API automation. Yeah.
Excellent. No, thank you.
And Kapil, one thing I would like to add is it's not so much about who is doing the automation, but another positive side effect of doing API level automation is that it is improving the overall testability. So it's also helping us identify, like for example, earlier when the focus was more on UI automation, we all know that when we talk about good architecture of, especially for a web application, that the UI layer should be as thin as possible. Most of the business logic should be on the backend side within the APIs and all that. But sometimes, as you are trying to meet deadlines, you are trying to complete all the features, etc. Sometimes, this boundary line may not be, respected properly, and sometimes some business logic or some such code may end up getting into the UI. Okay. So this is where when you start automating the API testing, you start also realizing some of these things that, Why is that part of the business logic not getting tested through the API? Because somebody has wrongly coded it in on the UI side, on the front end side, and then it needs to be moved. So by getting people to focus on really strengthening the APIs, it is also helping improve the API design and the overall software design, I would say. So that's also, in fact,
Exactly.
it's a secondary advantage, but nevertheless very important one.
Yeah. And on that point, Anirudh, we do have few use cases solved at our application layer also, that we have introduced few adapters with help of, again, our developers to make this
Exactly. So
automation
that's where,
feasible from API rather than from depending on
that's
UI.
where the developer's involvement becomes very useful, because
Exactly.
naturally the testers don't
Exactly.
have the same level of insight in the software design, for example,
Yeah.
that the developers will have.
Oh, wonderful. Gopinath, is that what you see with your other clients? And the reason I ask this is we go through this with many customers of ours, because I always tell them karate was created by a developer for developers. But Peter made it so simple that even suddenly he woke up one day and saw that the QA and the non-programmers, the domain experts, are embracing karate also. Okay, is that what you see also in terms of both developers and testers happily embracing and writing their automated test scripts with karate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for both developers and QA manual testers, or any automation tester who has experience in other tools. They'll find it easier, but for manual testers, I feel, because they have this fresh mindset, that they don't have any technical background of Java, C#, or Python, or any other thing. So for them, so I've been working in automation and on different tools since like 12 plus 13 plus years. It might be a bit harder for me to adapt to karate, because I have different things in mind. To read a JSON file, I might need to write some code with C# or Java. But with karate, it was very simple. I was like confused, like, am I doing it right way? But for testers who don't have that technical expertise, they'll find it even more easier, because they can grasp it at grasp it fastly with compared to automation testers who have some experience in different tools.
Wonderful. No, thanks for that. I'll pause my flow of questions. Aniruddha, Hema, are there any specific slides you want to touch on? Because I have not seen the flow. Is there anything specific you want to highlight?
Yeah, maybe there is no slide for that, but a very specific example, Kapil, Gopi has touched based upon that, but I would like to highlight that one of the example which was very challenging for us to automate, and that's why we have ended up into those n number of lines of codes for our automation, and karate has simplified that considerably.
Wow.
So yeah, so Gopi mentioned about it that we do have this large number of inputs and output parameters, and one of our key challenge was even within these inputs and output parameters, there are lot of interdependencies between these parameters, and that was leading to these multiple conditions and complex behavior. So with our earlier framework, this because of this behavior, we resulted into a very lengthy, like 7,000, 8,000 lines of code. And over the time, managing that conditional structure became very significantly challenging. And even it was sometimes became very specific individual dependent maintenance. Like we needed very specific people to maintain that. And this problem was started increasing with the volume and complexity in these payloads formats. And there, karate had simplified this approach, just like Gopi mentioned just now about ease of reading these JSON payloads and actually incepting these JavaScript code snippets directly into JSON payloads. So whatever conditional code we were writing as a separate reusable components or anything like that, we are really not need that now. We can simply insert those snippets directly into this JSON payloads, and yeah, work is done. So this has helped us to, for this our data driven testing to be more streamlined and efficient. Yeah. So I wanted to highlight that one.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Many a
Yeah.
times it was really nice, Hema, for you to share that, because many a times the mindset that the ecosystem has about karate is that it can't handle complex stuff. Okay, and
Yeah.
it's a misconception, and we can only do that much to try and address that misconception. So hearing it straight from an enterprise user perspective, and I know the number of approvals Aniruddha had to go through to come to this webinar. So for it to come from your side is exactly what the community needs to hear, because we will keep saying that karate is simple but yet can handle complex stuff. Okay, but people will think, nobody will want to say that we can't do this. So but coming from you, I think that's absolutely fantastic. To keep it very balanced, what is it that you don't like about karate, which we can possibly fix as we go along? Or maybe you're yet to come across that, but is there anything that the team struggled with, or though you have addressed that, but anything that you don't like about karate?
Yeah, so maybe nowadays I may be sharing this point with you again, couple. But nowadays means as we have opted for this co-pilot and everything. So maybe it's not karate, but the support for domain-specific language from this AI tools or mechanisms. That is something. For writing JavaScripts, we are definitely getting a lot of help from our Copilot and all this. But when it comes to this specific karate kind of utilities or karate kind of this domain specific syntax, I think we can look forward for getting this address, and it is going to help bringing more and more confidence in this team with this AI and all this integration together.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you used AI as a term before I could use AI as a term, because no webinar can go complete nowadays, or no discussion or meeting can go complete without the reference of AI. We have consciously at Karate Labs taken a very calibrated approach in references to AI, because our position always has been the ecosystem is just exploding in terms of the amount of code AI is generating. And if the code generated by AI is also tested by tests written by AI, what's the last point of defense? What's the last line of defense? And that's where we say humans are the last line of defense. But yes, we can leverage AI to make them even more productive with the use of karate. We have some very pointed plans with regard to the leverage of AI for test automation, particularly for API testing. And in the next quarter or so, you will see things rolling out. Believe it or not, thanks to your nudge few months ago, today we have karate easily working and talking to GitHub Copilot, Claude, and a few others. Okay, and within it is working on certain utilities that today, tomorrow when you launch even Explorer in its next version that we are going to release, you'll be able to decide based on your own utilities which LLM you would like our Explorer to talk to, because every customer we work with typically today has their own enterprise contracts, and most of them already have Microsoft Copilot bundled into their contract. So we are working with a few enterprise customers. You will see that rolling out in the next quarter or so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Looking forward for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also have a point to make here. It's not so much about what we don't like with about karate, but what really helped us, in addition to, of course, all the capabilities that karate has, and that is really Crosslake's early involvement and guidance here, because the tool is extremely powerful. The domain-specific language syntax is very easy to learn even for manual testers. But the downside of that can be that you can generate huge amount of code which is very badly organized, which is not modular, where reusability is not ensured, where the design is bad, and over the time, because it's very easy to churn out code very fast. It's very easy to automate with a tool like this thing. That is the great advantage. But if people don't have good thought about how to organize this code, how to structure it, how to write it efficiently, or how to make it more modular and reusable, then over the time, very quickly you can generate tons of code, which is now becoming very unwieldy, or there is a lot of duplication. We could avoid that to a large extent because of involvement of Gopi and the other experts from Crosslake, who from the beginning helped us design, like really invest in designing these basic building blocks and the architecture for that automation suite very well, and really learn the best practices, So I would also say that, and of course, in the training, on-site training that on our premises, the training that Peter conducted was also extremely helpful. So I think because we could directly learn from Peter about, again, what are the best practices when it comes to karate, when it comes to the syntax, or when it comes to automating certain things and all that. So access to these experts in the early part of this transformation was also extremely crucial. And I would really advise that, well, it's very easy. It's an open source tool for people to just pick up and start coding. But I think it's very important also to have access to experts who can also tell you or guide you in the right direction early on.
That's a fantastic point. And I remember after we were confident we have earned some degree of credibility with you. I think it was almost 7 or 8 months into our journey, or slightly less, where I requested, can we be introduced to Crosslake Technologies to introduce ourselves? Because we had never met anybody from Crosslake Technologies. So, and after we had our first interaction with Gopinath, I completely second where you're coming from, Aniruddha. I think having that outside in view to even challenge our biases and our processes is very, very critical, because then karate also takes pride in the fact that when you write a karate test, maintainability of the test is actually never an issue. But like the points you touched on are very, very critical. And that brings me to the closing questions, and I'll put this to Gopinath because of the references also Aniruddha has made to Crosslake Technologies. Gopinath, are there any particular trends you are seeing when it comes to API testing, with the world going towards LLMs, which is ultimately, again, APIs, the big thing around MCP servers, which is again all bunch of APIs. What are the trends that you're seeing, and what advice do you have for a solution like karate, and how do we position ourselves for our continued success?
Yeah, in terms of APIs, I've seen a trend like with our one of our recent client, which we are doing some development work, is developing APIs for them. Like they already have a platform which is heavily UI and app based. So we have developed API platform to interact with the platform for faster response and scalability. Definitely there is a switch from organizations moving more towards API testing and then integrating it into their existing systems. So I would like to add on to one thing here, which you mentioned, what you don't like about karate. One thing was when I initially proposed karate to Cytel, I was using the free open source version of Karate Labs, and that doesn't have these all capabilities which the license version has. Inline JavaScript errors, or you write some code and it fails, and you don't recognize why is it failing, like because we write inline JavaScript and it will not display any errors if there is something slight syntax mismatch or something. Yeah, so that was one of the thing. And the other thing was so as I said, like recently we worked with another client for whom we have developed APIs for their development, and it's purely on C#. I was trying to get code coverage. I was trying to look around, like Karate has something, a plugin or something. So I've seen for Java interoperability, but for C# side of things, I couldn't find any, plugin to get code coverage of, for the API automation. How good the automation is for the code that is being developed. Maybe there might be something, but I couldn't get around, that part. And coming back to your question of API automation, yeah, there's a lot of shift I've seen in recent times moving on to API testing, more API testing and less UI, and also that's a trend we are observing currently with our other clients which are in pipeline for our future works.
No, thank you for that, Gopinath. I only comment I'll make is, yes, you're very valid about some of the premium features that we have. As you know that we are one of those few companies that has remained true to open source. We have not raised any investor rounds other than when we got into Y Combinator. We are still a pre-seed company. We truly are in a market where it's David versus Goliath. We are competing with companies that have raised over $800 million. So we have to earn something as a company to invest back into open source. When Peter and I incorporated the company, I think we were on Karate open source version 1.12, if my memory serves me right. Today we are on 1.5.1.
Yeah.
And in that journey, we have put a lot into it. So it's a very tough one and a fine line. But I promise you, when we get to a certain threshold, some of the features that you're referring to, we will certainly make it at no cost for the community. But it's a little while away. Your point is very valid with regard to code coverage. I know there are some out there who have built their own integrators to get coverage. We had the previous webinar we had with GFT Technologies. They have built their own solution for API code coverage, API test coverage. You'll be happy to know that is coming with Karate, and it will be open source. We will not be charging for it. So you'll be happy to know that.
Great to know.
I'm letting you know that right now. We are chipping away at that. And I think in another couple of months, that will be released with one of the open source releases that we do. So yes, that's my response to you. But thank you for that, Gopinath. I'm just conscious of time. And this question is to all three of you. Based on your combined experience, what key takeaways would you like to offer the attendees of this webinar to remember about balancing the agile testing pyramid with accessible API test automation tools? Any parting comments and advice, please?
So my key takeaway is really what I think I said earlier, that I mean, it's a no-brainer these days that investment in large-scale automation of testing provides tremendous value to an organization. And this investment is definitely worth making in. It is not just good for the company, it's also good for the people. And tools like Karate make automation so easy, even for manual testers, that there is really no excuse for not automating your testing. So, and we are seeing it from our experience that such automation can be a game changer. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure most companies these days are really giving importance to automation. But I think, yeah, as we learned through our engagement with Crosslake and then through our experience with actually using Karate, that also shifting your focus from UI automation to API automation, especially for a company that's developing applications of the kind that we are developing, I think that's also very important. So yeah, that's the main takeaway for me.
Thank you. Hema, Gopinath, anything from your side?
Yeah, maybe my couple of comments here. So key takeaway for me and for the team is like API automation doesn't need to be complex to be effective. I remember Peter often reminded us during our training, like try to keep it simple, but simplicity is the hardest part to maintain. And that really resonates with us. But with right set of tools and accessibility tools with this kind of intuitive syntax, yeah, definitely will ease out that momentum and help teams to automate. Yeah. So
that's wonderful
yeah,
advice.
that's
wonderful.
about it.
Wonderful
Yeah.
input. Simplicity in all aspects of life is very hard. So I think, and so you have summarized it very, very well, Hema. Thank you for that. And Gopinath, any parting words from your side?
Yeah, what I would like to, mention is about the Karate tool itself. Like you mentioned, I have heard maybe Karate might not be for complex applications. It's you can automate using Karate for simple requests, simple get and response. It's not the case. Once you start using it, you'll get all your answers, and I mean, nothing is impossible. Like you want to do something, there's a possibility with the tool. And also, if you are a pure manual tester, you will easily get used to Karate Labs. You don't have to have, yeah, I mean, zero. You don't need to have any technical knowledge to use Karate Labs. Yeah, that's the 2 points that I want to mention.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much. It's been just a truly insightful discussion. And Aniruddha and Hema, thank you for putting together these slides. We have no expectations of that, but what you have done, seeing is believing sometimes, right? And you have presented metrics. So I think whatever you say matches up with those metrics. I know we are over the hour. There are still enough participants here. Anybody has any questions? I'm happy to, you can raise your hand. I'm happy to unmute, and you can either ask live or put it in the Q&A. We had only one question, so I'll just give it a few seconds. Any questions? I can understand why it was so crystal clear. So thank you so much for your time, Hema, Aniruddha, and Gopinath. We really appreciate your giving these inputs. We don't take this for granted. Thank you for selecting Karate. Please keep challenging us. While you have said all the good things, the bigger responsibility on us is to continue on that and not to rest on our past laurels. And you will see much more come out of Karate Labs. But thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kapil.
everyone.
Thanks for this
Have a great
opportunity,
day.
Kapil.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.